सुख वग्ग, happiness chapter, Sukha Vagga, is very interesting, very simple. Four stanzas we have to recite together in one group. Susukhang vata jivama verinesu averino verinesu manussesu viharama verino Susukhang vata jivama aturesu anatura aturesu manussesu viharama natura Susukhang vata jivama Usukesu anusukha Usukesu manussesu viharama anusukha. Susukha. No, last one. Another one. 200. Next page. Into the same group. Susukhang vata jivama yesang no natti kinchanam piti bhakha bhavissama deva abhasrayatha Susukhang vata jivama verinesu averino verinesu manussesu viharama averino Susukhang vata jivama aturesu anatura aturesu manussesu viharama natura Susukhang vata jivama Usukesu anusukha Usukesu manussesu viharama anusukha Susukhang vata jivama yesang no natti kinchanam piti bhakha bhavissama deva Sagarayaka. Meaning, happily do we live without hate amongst the hateful. Amidst hateful men, we dwell unhating. Happily do we live in good health amongst the ailing. Amidst ailing men, we dwell in good health. Happily do we live without yearning for sensual pleasure amongst those who yearn for them. Amidst those who yearn for them, we dwell without yearning. Happily do we live, we who have no impediment, feeders of joy, shall we live, or shall we be even as the God of radiant realm, Brahma. This sayings of the Buddha is very interesting because just now you heard the meaning. Two masters, one message. This book was written by a Christian pastor, Methodist. He's a professor in St. Vincent University in Canada. He has written this book as his thesis for his PhD. Here in this book, he says, is a comparison, teachings of the Buddha and the teaching of Jesus. Here, page 140 in his book. He used Greek Dhammapada, not Pali Dhammapada, same translation into Greek language at that time. He says, in modern Testament, Sermon on the Mount, you can find these passages together, one after the other. If they have not borrowed this from Dhammapada, how these four items appear together in the same place? Here I read, just now you heard, happily shall I live without property among possessors. Among possessing men, dwell without property. Happily shall I live, having no attachment, we shall feast on joy like angels. Here mentioned Brahma, here angels. Happily shall I live without anxious striving among strivers. Among striving men, dwell without striving. Happily shall I live without hostility among the hostile. Among hostile men, dwell without hostility. You can understand the Buddha lived 600 years before Jesus, and the Buddha's teachings also recorded in writing 80 years before Jesus. So Jesus started to preach nearly 700 years after the Buddha. And how the Dhammapada verses influence for him to give the same ideas, same verses in the same place. But in the Old Testament they cannot find, only in the New Testament. When they started to write, they have not only this, there are so many parables, stories, illustrations, comparisons given in the book. This is the nature of religion. All the existing religions borrowed ideas from the old existing religion. Now Hinduism and Buddhism, when you compare, you can see a lot of similarities in Hinduism and Buddhism. It does not mean that Buddhists borrow from Hindus, but the existing dharma, Hindus and Buddhists both expressed and revealed. So here also, the problem is that how they would manage to combine all together as a series if they have not taken it from Dhammapada. In fact, some people say the Sermon on the Mount is nothing but the carbon copy of Dhammapada. The same teachings you can find. That is why many people have written a lot of books on Jesus, where he was for 13 years, and how he studied Buddhism and Hinduism and philosophy and meditation and jhana and miraculous power. Everything he has learned from India and have gone back to his own country when he started. People could not understand him. They thought he is going to claim something else. That is why he had to face the untimely death, just like Socrates. So these are the facts, how one religion can borrow ideas from another religion. There is no harm at all. If the truth is there, it's quite reasonable. But we should not deny just to glorify our own religion. That is why I mentioned, as Buddhists, we cannot glorify that all those things that we find in the Buddhist books are Buddhist views. Those beliefs, those dharmas, those practices existed in India and some other countries. Again, you can compare sayings of Confucius and sayings of the Buddha. All the Mangala Sutra and Vyaggapadya Sutra and Parabhava Sutra, Vasala Sutra, the same saying you can find. Morals and ethics and duties and obligations and responsibilities and humane qualities and dignity and virtues, same thing. So, intellectuals or wise people can understand the truth. When they reveal, when the same truth revealed by different teachers, so we can see the similarity. So we should not hostile toward another religion just because it is that in our religion also earlier we have recorded these things. Now in time to come, new religions may appear and they will borrow the ideas and belief from Buddhism and Christianity and Islam and all the existing religions. That is how they are going on introducing new concept, new cult, new creed, new religions from time to time. It is not their own discoveries. The existing things they repeat and reinterpret. Then we take this as a new religion. Now let us see the meaning. Susukhang vat jivama verinesu averino. Verinesu manussesu viharama averino. Happily do we live without hate amongst the hateful. Amid faithful men, we live unhating. Now this is a very good lesson for all of us. We are living in a troublesome world where there are troubles and problems and calamities and fightings and quarrelings and accusing and blaming and hating and cursing everywhere, all over the world. We can see these things. Not the world. Let us take one family. Among the family members, almost every day, shouting, accusing, blaming, hating, fighting, quarreling, arguing. So it is very difficult for us to live with them. Do you think it is very difficult? That is what the Buddha wanted to tell us. You should not run away from it. You must live with them. You can live with them. Without joining with them, without encouraging them, without contributing anything for their fight, for their quarrel, for their argument, for their hating, for their jealousy, you can live peacefully. That is what the Buddha says. He has given some example. Aham nago sangame chapato patitan sara. My way of life is just like standing in the middle of a battlefield. Two groups are fighting. I am in between. So the arrows, those days they had no guns. He used the word arrow. The arrows shot by this group and that group, both are struck in his body. So my way of life in this troublesome world, in this battlefield, is just like an elephant in the battlefield. But I never run away from this battlefield, allowing them to fight. I never go away as a defeated man from the battlefield. My duty is to face and try in every possible way that he can settle this problem. Why he had to recite this saying? Sakya Koli, two groups, the Buddha's fathers and mothers, two groups. They were about to declare war because of the water in the paddy field, the Rohini river. So they used the water from this Rohini river for their paddy cultivation. You know, during the summer, it's very difficult to get enough water. In many places, they dig the well and whole day and night they take water and pour, go through the drains, the paddy field. Otherwise, paddy field won't get enough water. So, one group come and turn the river toward this side. Next day the other group come and turn toward the other side. This has been going on for some time. Finally, they decided to fight, declare war. Then all of them assembled. The Buddha came to know. Relative from his mother's side, relatives from his father's side. Then, down in between them. Then he asked, what are you going to do? He said, we have to fight for the water. All right? Now, when you are going to kill by fighting, shooting arrows, amount of blood that we had to shed, I think, become more than the water remained in this Rohini river. And which is more valuable, which is more important? Either blood or the water. So you are going to shed blood for the sake of water. Then they had to say, blood is more valuable than water. Then why do you want to fight? He advised them, he settled the problem. After that, gave this sermon. Susukham vata jivama, let us live happily, peacefully, if others are not ready to listen to us. We must try our best to settle their problem, dispute, argument, quarrel, hating. If we cannot do that, our duty is to keep away from that battlefield, but don't run it. Without running away, you must try to guard your mind without creating, without developing your anger, your jealousy, your greed, your selfish ideas, your hostility towards them. Then you are safe. So those who want to fight, if they are not ready to listen, let them fight. So they are responsible. But you should not take share. Must try to avoid the quarrel and the fighting and attacking. And you can maintain peace of mind if you know how to handle your mind. So, susukam vata jivama verinesu averinu. Now somebody is very angry with you. You know that person hates you, talk ill of you, accuse and criticize you. You heard all those things. Then you also get angry. So when you get angry, you also develop your hatred. Now both sides, radiating hatred, like bullets. So every day, going on increasing this hatred. Hatred, enmity, anger, ill will, grudge, all the evil forces are boiling. So, there is no end to this radiation of hatred. By knowing this, the Buddha gave the advice. Nahi verena verani sammanti the Buddhachana. You cannot gain peace by hating the person who hates you. You will never experience peace in your life. Now, which is more important? Why not you think, let me reduce my egoism, let me reduce my pride for the sake of peace and happiness. Why not I withdraw my anger, my hatred? So, you have withdrawn. So now you do not hate that person. When that person comes to know that you do not hate him, then he also slowly reduce his anger, reduce his hatred, reduce his hostile attitude. One day, both of you meet each other. Then you can look at each other with smiling face, not with sour face or long face. So we never get the chance to overcome our problems if we do not withdraw one of our mental defilement, mental impurities, impediment. We have to withdraw that. Then the peace. This is the truth. So I heard 1938 Hitler in Germany received a Buddha image from Japan on his birthday. Returned there, these sayings of the Buddha. Nahiverena verani sammantida kudajana. Hatred never ends by hatred, but by loving kindness. This saying. So Hitler has received birthday gift from all over the world. So he was watching, going round and saw the Buddha image. So very serene figure. He asked, what is this? He said, this is Buddha image. And what is written there? Then they explained. After listening to this saying of the Buddha, Hitler said, no, I never agree with that. If there is anybody who hates me, I must hate that person. That is his philosophy. That is his principle. So by standing on this principle, he declared war. He attacked England, attacked France, attacked so many countries. In the end, what happened? After destroying millions of human beings and all the properties and buildings, and he was killed like a dog and kicked by the people. And recently I have seen in the State Times the hole on his skull. It appeared in the State Times. He wanted to go against the Buddha's saying and see what happens here. And still, in many parts of the world, people hate him. Because people can remember how he had to suffer because of him. And how many millions of Jews had to die because of him. The sayings of the Buddha is the final word. We cannot go beyond that. And if we are not going to listen to his teaching, you must be prepared to face the problems and troubles and worries and disturbances. So we can overcome actually many of these disturbances, minor things that we have created due to misunderstanding, due to argument, due to disagreement, without harboring, developing our hatred or hostile attitude or discrimination towards others. Then we can live peacefully. Otherwise, we never get the chance to live peacefully. When we come to know that we have enemies, we have created enemies, and we have become their enemies, Where is peace in our mind? So one day, when we had the opportunity to withdraw that hatred from the mind, then the happiness, the peace that we experience is remarkable. But unfortunately, people have very strong egoism. That egoistic idea, views, never allow man to surrender some of those evil forces from the mind. Allow them to flare up, then aggravate the situation. Then start trouble. Then start attacking, beating and murdering. Started from a minor argument. So we can overcome. But remember, we cannot overcome our problems, our enemies, our difficulties by destroying them, by killing them. Impossible. Because it is mentioned in Bodhicharya Avatar, the books written by Shantidev, the qualities of a Bodhisattva, virtues of a Bodhisattva, Bodhicharya Avatar in Sanskrit language. A beautiful saying is there. I mentioned in one of my books also. Whenever there are some problems and troubles, we worry. Without worrying, why not we try to find out what is the cause of this problem? At the same time, try to find out some sort of solution to overcome this problem. So worrying is not the answer. By worrying, you never gain anything but you ruin physically and mentally. Later you have to suffer from various sicknesses because of your worry. Again he says, for certain problems, difficulties, definitely there are no solutions because they are natural. Every living being must face them. No one can escape. So if there is no solution to overcome, do you think by worrying you can overcome? Then what you have to do, make up your mind. Yes, I know. It is natural. It happened to everybody. I am also one of them. So I have to face it. Whether I like or not, I have to face it. Then you can reduce the tension and the fear and worry. You can reduce. Prepare to face. Natural problems. What are those things? Sicknesses, old age, death, and in between so many other conflicts and clashes and troubles. They are natural problems, which and every human being must face them. That is why the qualities of a bodhisattva is like that. Again he says, this is more important. Kiyata mara isyami durjanang gaganopama. Marite krodha chittesu marita sarva satra. This is in Sanskrit. Do you think you can overcome your problem by killing your enemies? If you kill one enemy to overcome your problems, you create hundreds of new enemies. Remember this. Durjana Gaganopama. Such enemies you create just like stars in the sky. No end. Therefore you must never try to overcome your problem by destroying your enemy. You will never win the battle. Then he says, there is Marite Kodachittesu Marita Sarva Sastra. You have to kill only one thing, not all your enemies. When you kill your own anger, all your enemies automatically disappear. Do you know that? When you kill your anger, when you withdraw that anger from your mind, then the enemies come to know that you are not angry, no anger anymore in your mind. They become your friend. If not, they go away their own way, leave you alone without disturbing you. This is practical. It is meaningful. It is justifiable. These are the qualities of a bodhisattva. One who cultivates to gain knowledge and wisdom, how they use their life, how they overcome their problems and difficulties. We never consider these things seriously. So if we really want to make use of our life, to avoid so many unnecessary worries and problems and disturbances, here the sayings of the Buddha, sayings of Jesus also, sayings of Confucius, Lao Tzu, beautiful sayings. But we just ignore. Only thing what we do, we go and pray and pipe, that's all. Thinking we can get rid of all these things. That is not the solution. Next one. Susukangvata jivama aturesu anatura. Aturesu manussesu viharama anatura. Let us live happily among those who are sick. So, let them suffer because they are sick. But we enjoy our life. Do you think this saying of the Buddha is justifiable? That is why the religious language, we have to catch the meaning very carefully. He used the word atura. Atura means sick. Aturesu. Anatura means not sick. Here, sick. Sickness is not physical sickness. All are mental sickness. In fact, many of our sicknesses come to our physical body from our mind. Mind creates the sickness. In our body, we have all sorts of germs, virus, bacteria. When the antibody or the resistance are strong, those germs, virus cannot create sicknesses, just remain inactive. also depend on blood cell, white cell and red cell. But when that resistant power is weakened, then all the enemy, bacteria, virus, get a chance to attack everywhere. Because no resistant power to attack, to fight with them. When the mental energy is weakened, that weakness affects all our organs, including glands and the heart and the nerves and the blood circulation, brain cells weaken. Then the virus, bacteria, germs get the chance to develop very easily. But those who have very strong conviction, willpower, understanding, determination, not so easy. Because they do not take things so seriously into the mind. It is due to lack of understanding. Minor things we take so seriously into our mind, then go on creating imaginations and worrying and suspicion, invite so many other problems. Lack of understanding. So the knowledge is like that. Now whenever there is a problem, we can see one person is worrying and thinking what to do now. Then the other person says, there is nothing then, forget about that, there is nothing. Because he doesn't take this seriously. He is free from the trouble. The other person is worrying and suffering. The mind created. So here the Buddha's advice is, when people are sick mentally, anger is a mental sickness. Jealousy is a mental sickness. Selfishness is a mental sickness. Then enmity, a mental sickness. Hostile attitude in the mind is a mental sickness. So they are all sick people. So the advice given by the Buddha is, when you are living with such sick people, by knowing they are like this, without contributing anything to flare up their sickness, mental sickness, you must live peacefully, happily, without joining with them, without supporting them. If they are not ready to listen to you, according to your knowledge, your understanding, you try to give some advice, how to overcome, how to settle, how to keep quiet, why do you want to fight and quarrel for this minor thing, unnecessary thing, but they are not ready to listen to you. Then your duty is keep away from them, but don't run away. You can live with them by maintaining some sort of freedom, purity in your mind, because you do not develop such evil thought to be sick. That is the meaning of this saying, Susukam vat jivama verinesu, aturesu anatura. Aturesu manussesu, among those who are sick, viharama ave anatura. Let us live healthy people, as healthy people. Because mentally we are healthy. Physically may be very weak. If the mind is strong, here is another advice. When the body is sick, don't allow your mind also to be sick. Have very strong confidence Many people I have seen, they suffer from little bit of sickness. They worry, then the mind also becomes sick, very sick. When I had a severe heart attack 20 years ago, 3 times, doctors have given up hope. They have given only 48 hours.
I was conscious. I want to talk. When the doctors come and say to me, we ask you not to talk. And I say, doctor, if I can talk, allow me to talk. That means I am not sick, if I can talk. Because I had strong confidence that I will never die because of this. That mental energy, that confidence becomes a very dynamic force to overcome the physical organic sicknesses. Mind over matter. That is what the Buddha says. When you are sick, don't worry about your sickness. Take necessary precautions and medication, and don't create fear and worry. Have confidence. Nothing will happen to you. Then the sickness will disappear very quick. When you are sick physically, don't allow your mind also to be sick. These are the beautiful sayings of the Buddha. We have to follow these advices. That is what he says here. So there are so many people who are worrying with, disturbing their mind with anger, jealousy, wrath and ill will and worries and frustration. All are mental sicknesses. But if you are wise, if you know the Dharma taught by the Buddha, then you can give few quotations. That is what the Buddha says for this. Then that gives consolation, satisfaction for us. Not to give up hopes, not to worry, not to disturb the mind. Then the next one, Susukang vata jivama ussukesu anussuka. Ussukesu manussesu viharama anussuka. There are many people who are crazy for sensual pleasure. Nothing but sensual pleasure, day and night. Whatever they earn, they spend for worldly pleasure. They think the purpose of their life is nothing but indulging senses, pleasing the senses. But later, the same pleasure, same enjoyment they experienced earlier turn into suffering, create suffering, create frustration, create disappointment, create unhappiness, unsatisfactoriness. This is the nature of worldly pleasure. You never get complete satisfaction in your life. Always, after enjoying, you grumble. This is the nature of worldly pleasure. So the Buddha's advice is, don't be crazy. Don't become slaves. Don't surrender your valuable human life thinking enjoying worldly pleasure is the purpose of our life. That enjoyment is just like a dream. We enjoy when we sleep, beautiful dreams. But next day morning when we get up, there is nothing. So the enjoyment, worldly pleasures, like that we like dreams. So don't devote or dedicate or spend our whole valuable life only for worldly pleasures which are impermanent, changeable, in the end create enormous sufferings and unhappiness, unsatisfaction. So the Buddha's advice, let us live happily without joining with those who enjoy too much. Let them enjoy if they are not ready to listen to us. But later they will come and report us, they are in trouble, they are in difficulty, they are having these sicknesses and they are indebted, so many problems. But you are free from all these things because you did not want to enjoy too much. You knew your limit. That is called contentment. Each and every person must have some sort of contentment in his or her life. Don't go beyond that limit. Otherwise, life will be wasted, no peace, no satisfaction, no happiness. So when we make up our mind, now this is enough for me or for my family. I get enough food, enough clothing, enough shelter, enough medicine. These are the essential, requisite needs for our survival, for our living. But when we go beyond this, by developing our craving for more and more and more things, then the trouble starts from there. So the whole world has become a battlefield today because they have gone beyond that limit. They are not fighting because they have no food, no clothing, no shelter, no medicine. They have. But they want more power, more authority. They want to enjoy more and more by grabbing others' property, others' belongings. So the contentment is the most important, the good quality, virtue in our life. Because when you draw the line, this is enough for me, I don't want to go beyond that, then the jealousy never appears in the mind. See? Jealousy is a very dangerous enemy. Because we have contentment, we are contented. So jealousy never appears. So if there is no jealousy, anger also never appears. Anger always appears because of jealousy or craving. If there is no anger, no fighting, no enemies, no bloodshed, no disturbances. So we will be free from so many problems, difficulties, if we can maintain some sort of contentment, satisfaction. This is enough. After all, we know very well, when we depart from this world, after our death, we cannot carry anything with us. We drop everything here. Others may enjoy, that is a different thing. But we work like slaves by suffering. Again, people say, we are working, we are earning, we are accumulating for our children. Yes. Good. What will happen? Father or mother, after working and accumulated a lot of property and die. And the children got this property very easily, without working for that. So they do not know how to value the things that they got easily, freely. They go on spending. We can see how many millionaires, sons and daughters behave like paupers and like beggars. Because they spent and they finished everything. But because they did not work to earn. The duty of the parent is not to accumulate and dump and hand over the property. Give them proper education, train them properly, let them also work and earn. Then they know how to value, appreciate the property. So we should say, I am suffering, I am working for my children. Of course, if they are starving, if they have no food, that's a different issue. There are many people who dump and take the bucket after them. Brothers and sisters fight and quarrels and court cases and become enemies. Now they cannot look at each other's face, brothers and sisters, they are enemies because of the property. If the father died without any property, there is no fight. See how many families are fighting because of the property. Brothers and sisters cannot look at each other when they were young. You can see a small kitten and puppies. When they are going to eat, they might attack each other, fight. Because of the craving. After that, again come together, sleep together, like this. Become brothers and sisters automatically. So when you are small children also, you have strong attachment, affections towards your brothers and sisters. But when you look at the father's property, you forget your brotherhood, forget your this is the problem. So we must know how to handle this life without becoming crazy, to avoid so many problems. There are living examples everywhere, all over the country, all over the world. What we need is actually to live peacefully, live without fear, without worry, without disturbances, without insecurity feeling. These are the things that we need. Then the life becomes meaningful. Otherwise, no meaning. Next one. Susukhamvata jivama jesandonatti kinchana priti bhakka bhavisama deva abhasarayata. This is very important. Susukhamvata jivama jesandonatti kinchana. Kinchana is mental impediment, mental impurities, dirty mind and wicked mind, cruel mind, all the dirty, dangerous things in the mind. So let us live peacefully among those who maintain this kind of dirty mentality. By knowing They are very hot-tempered. They are very jealous type of people. They have no tolerance and patience and understanding. They have no kindness at all. They are very cruel, very wicked by nature. Very difficult to change. When you advise also, they get angry. Therefore, by knowing their situation, your duty is to live alone without joining with, without following with them, and without interfering with their affairs if they are not ready to listen to them. And the example is given here. Let us live happily like those devas in Abhatsara. Abhatsara is the name of Brahma world. There are 16 Brahma worlds, different realms. So people will be born in different Brahma realms according to their mental attitude. Not the karma, a good karma for development. This is mental purity, mental development. Those who have developed jhana through their meditation, I think you have heard 8 kinds of jhana stages. Patama jhana, Dutiya jhana, Tatiya jhana, Chaturtha jhana. These are called laukika, worldly jhanas. Then again another 4 above, mundane. Akincha jnayatana, neva sanjana jnayatana, about the world, mundane worldly system. So, those who have cultivated their mind up to the 2nd jhana, Dutiya jhana, if they die without developing further, rebirth will take place in this particular Brahma world. Abhassara, Devaloka means Brahma Loka. Abhassara means brightness, the luminous, their body. So, Priti Bhakka Bhavisana. Priti means happiness. Bhakka means eat. Priti Bhakka. Deva Abhassara Yatha, just like those devas in Abhassara Brahmana. That means they take only happiness as their food. No solid food. No any other kind of food. How fortunate they are. Now we take 4 kinds of food. Solid food for our stomach, for our body. Everybody must take in the mundane world. After that, we take food through the senses. Food for the senses. To indulge, to please our senses, our eyes, our ear, nose, mouth and the body. We experience some sort of pleasant feeling. Food for our senses. Many people are satisfied with these 2. Food for the stomach, food for the senses. But animals also develop, senses also they develop little bit. Birds, how they sing, and cats and dogs also sing at night time. We cannot sleep when they sing. They also enjoy their life, their sensual pleasure, but they cannot go beyond that. As human beings, we have to go further. Food for our mind, not only for the senses. Food for our mind is the knowledge. Otherwise, we are not real human beings. There is no difference between animals and humans if we have no knowledge. So we have to feed the mind. That's why people say this is food for thought. For you to think and understand. Food for the thought. Because you want to know so many things about the life and the world and the nature, the phenomena, and again religion, philosophy, psychology, science, mathematics, biology, chemistry, anthropology, astrology. All those things are food for our mind. So, highly intellectuals, great thinkers, philosophers, satisfied, developing, gaining more and more food into their mind. That means by realizing, understanding many more things in this world. How Albert Einstein and Charles Darwin, how they realized, understood the worldly conditions, worldly life and the nature. We never had that idea, that understanding. So they who manage to get more food into their mind. Also not complete. One more step. Food for our consciousness. Mind is one thing, consciousness is another thing. Mind is the mental energy that we use through the senses. That's all, that is mind. But consciousness is something else. In that consciousness, we have so many ingredients. Avidya, Trishna, Karma, Upadana, Bhava, 4 ingredients in our consciousness. Craving, ignorance. Ignorance is a very strong mental energy in the mind. Because of ignorance we make all our mistakes. It is a mental energy. Karma. Every day and night, every minute, we commit or we do some sort of karma. 3 kinds of karma. Good karma, bad karma, neutral karma. More neutral karma than good karma and bad karma. And what are the neutral karma? The things that we do for our living, for our survival, to fulfill our duties, without creating either immoral thought or moral development. Understand the difference? Example. Early morning you go to your office or the factory or where you work. Karma. Whole day you work, you accumulate a lot of karma. What is the intention? Intention is to gain something, a salary, support you and your family and your duty. They are neutral karma. No morals, no immorals. No good thoughts, no bad thoughts. For your worldly life. You cultivate paddy fields or plants or fruits or anything. All these are karma, neutral karma. But you experience a good and bad result both, according to your action. But besides this, 2 more aspects. What we do with good intention, what we do with bad intention. Then become good karma, kusala karma, then the akusala karma, bad karma. Take for instance, you do something to relieve others' sufferings and worries and fear and disturbances. Do something with kindness, compassion, sympathy, understanding, moral. Then you create good karma. On the other hand, you create your cunningness, selfishness, wicked ideas and bribery, robbery, corruption and swindling, cheating, disturbing others. Then immoral, bad karma. So, throughout our life, we are going on accumulating these 3 kinds of karma. But when we are going to die, all the neutral karmas have no effect. Cannot carry forward, nothing. But morals and immorals already deposited in the subconscious mind. The rest remain as mental habits. Now if you learn to do some skillfully, that is your habit. This habit you can continue. In the next life also, you become a clever man to do that. That mental habit. Say learning, or teaching, or preaching, if not doctors, nurses, or working in the factories, learning all the techniques, these things remain as mental habits in the subconscious mind. But they are not karma from the religious point of view. Habits. So, good and bad karmas follow us direct. Where to go? The karma is responsible for it. Then craving, attachment, push and pull. That is how rebirth takes place. Mental energy runs. In that mental energy, we use the consciousness at that time. Karma is there, craving is there, attachment is there, mental habits are there, our likes and dislikes are there. Food for our consciousness means by analyzing, by knowing the nature of our consciousness, nature of our life, nature of our life process, we must know how to clean the path. Otherwise, we won't get enough good food for that consciousness. So when we reduce mental impurities and mental impediments, mental weaknesses, then the purity becomes the food for this consciousness. Purity is the food for that consciousness. Then the rebirth takes place. One of these. Just now, Deva Amasarayastha. Those who have cultivated even up to the second stage of jhana meditation. So rebirth takes place in above heaven, above Devaloka. That is Brahma world, where they can lead a peaceful, contented life. Only happiness they take as food. Piti Bhakha Bharisama Deva Bhattayata. So we have to suffer every day because of food. Eating itself is a real burden. Eating. It is nuisance, sometimes. But in those places, there's nothing to eat. Just happiness. Like energy. Happiness becomes the energy to maintain, to sustain the body and the life. See how practical, how systematically the Buddha has introduced all this. How to live, how to cultivate, how to develop, how to attain, how to gain higher self. So if you cannot understand these things, if that knowledge is not there, our minds are very shallow, very poor. So what we have learned for so many years, see, you could manage to appreciate. Although you cannot understand clearly, you know how to appreciate. That's why you come here, in spite of various other activities and commitments. And that means you like it. You try to gain more and more. Because mental hindrances are very strong. So this knowledge cannot go through, cannot penetrate those mental hindrances. Slowly you can reduce them, then only you get into it. That's called realization. Although there is no realization, but you like, you want to know, and then you get the chance. Yes, that is on the half hour. Very nice saying of the Buddha. You know when 29, isn't it? Yeah. So, Swami Gamarita. Imina punya kambena upadjaya dunukkara acari upakarate mata pita priya mamang suriyo sandi maharaja Gunantanarapica Brahma Maharaja Indaca Lokapalaca Devata Yamogita Manusaca Madhyata Vetapica Sabhe Hatta Sukhivantu Punyani Bhattani Supanja dividantentu Hipang papeto matang Imina punya kambena Imina ukidena ce Hipang sulame keva Tannu padana cedanan Yedantani nadamma Yava nibbana brahmamang Nasantu sampadaena Yatta jato bhave bhave Ujujitto satipanyo Sallepo viriyavami Maralabantu lokasan Tatunca viriye srune Buddhadi pavaronato Dhammonato ayuttamo Nato bhatteka sambuddho